Welcome to Movie RX Recreational Use, where we set healing aside and watch just to feel good. I'm a prescribing doctor, Dr. Benjamin, and joining me today is the x86ed chef. Welcome, chef.
Hey, what's up? How's it going?
Good. It's October, and I mean October is a good time of year because it starts to cool off a little bit. Because fuck heat. I am so done with the hot weather. We start to get the change in the leaves and all of that stuff, and we get ready for crotch goblins to start putting on costumes and go trick-or-treating because it's the spooky season. So this month I'm doing scary movies, alien movies, spooky movies, that kind of stuff. And one of the people I thought of that would be really good for that is Chef, because I know you're kind of a horror flick buff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it came from my birthday being close to Halloween, being on the 28th, but there's just something about people, like demons haunting teenagers in their nightmares.
Yeah.
And
it's wholesome.
Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff like that. No, but like slasher fic. No, but to be real, there is nothing better than horror movies because it allows you to express like a wide range of ideas and topics while also kind of muddling it up within the horror. And like, if you can get past the emotional part of it, there's like a lot of underlying messages. They're absolutely fantastic. And I love it.
Now I think you're making fun of me.
No, I'm serious.
See, and it's funny because like, so this whole time I haven't really done a whole lot of horror movies or anything. And I'm not really much into horror movies. And it's mostly because for me, I don't get a lot out of horror flicks. Like,
well, to be fair, there are a lot of really bad ones. So there are, like if you take the slasher genre, there are a lot of good, very good starts. Mm-hmm. The birth of Jason Voorhees in the river or the lake, and mm-hmm. Mother and like that whole, or Psycho or stuff like that. But then mm-hmm. you take Jason and you just beat him to death with money until he turns into Jason X in space, It's like, it was still a really great concept when it started,
I'm sure. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really see a whole lot of medicine in slasher films or anything. But at the same time, like, that's just me. Like,
you know what? Have me on again, and yeah. I will convince you 100% that you can, because we're gonna do Babadook.
Babadook.
We're gonna do Babadook.
Okay, we'll discuss.
And if
Babadook.
I don't convince you after that, then
okay.
I guess I
like that. That's a good challenge. So, yeah, well, and I guess at least today, I mean, with it being a recreational use, we're just going to kind of talk about a fun movie, which I don't know, this one, I mean, this is kind of the original, isn't it? Like, cause I mean, as far as like the slash movies go, mm-hmm. like the Nightmare on Elm Street, the Friday the 13th and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, all that stuff. This is the original, isn't it?
Pretty close. So when it comes to like the slasher, Psycho is really the original in America. I guess. There were also Hitchcock. Yeah, like that concept. He's like killing people at a hotel and he's obsessed with his mom and all that.
Right.
But the one that came before it, and I'm not an expert on this, so I'm not going to talk about it a lot, but there was this genre of books that came out in Italy, and movies were produced based on these books, and they had like a yellow cover. Mm-hmm. I'm sure somebody listening might notice this, especially if they're interested in this at all. But they were the whole concept of like viewing the victims through the killer's eyes, and like a lot of the tropes that you saw they're now cliche, but at the time they were like something to behold. Like they had to come from somewhere, right? Like they had to start. Right. And these Italian films were kind of the start of that. And John Carpenter wanted to take that and do something kind of with that. And I I'm sure there's other things. I'm sure he probably saw some dude that reminded him of Michael somewhere or something like that that gave him the idea. Mm-hmm. But yeah, as far as it being like super popular in the US, like Michael Myers is like the whole reason why all of the other ones even started. Because Psycho was a good movie, but right. Michael Myers was really that core, that kind of like turn the key, open the door. Here you go. Here's slasher, movies.
Right. So yeah, I mean, it's a really good start, I think, just for a first time doing a horror flick, really. And I mean, if you haven't guessed, I don't think we've actually said the name of the movie yet. If you haven't guessed, we're doing 1978's Halloween. Now, the one thing that is going to stay the same in all of my episodes, whether it's Movie RX, Bad Medicine, Movie RX, Recreational Use, no matter what it is, I'm still going to give the basic movie info on anything that we do. So basic movie info on this one is that it's a Compass Pictures production released in 1978, directed by the great John Carpenter.
Genius.
Nobody can deny that when it comes to freaky films, that this guy is a genius. Like, I mean, he's fantastic.
I'd say him and Wes Craven.
Yeah, him and Wes Craven are both. Yeah, they're kind of the 800-pound gorillas of horror flicks. This movie stars Donald Pleasance, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Tony Moran. And here we go with the IMDb description. 15 years after murdering his sister on Halloween night in 1963, Michael Myers escapes from a mental hospital and returns to the small town of Haddonfield, Illinois, to kill again. I think that's probably about the best one I've seen.
As far as movie descriptions go, or
from IMDb, yeah, that's wow.
To the point.
That really is what it is. I mean, there's bravo, IMDb. That's a good one.
They should mention that this was Jamie Lee Curtis's breakout role as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, that is pretty important. Actually, when we watched this in preparation for doing this episode, Jen actually laughed when she saw Jamie Lee Curtis's name on there.
Really?
Yeah, because Jen remembers Jamie Lee Curtis from, like, the
True Lies,
Freaky Friday, Freaky Friday type stuff.
Oh, she's a bit younger too. So.
Yeah, because she does a lot of family movies later on and all of that. But she kind of laughed, and then she was like, "Wow, she kind of always sounded the way that she did." When she was
actually
in those
saw
movies.
Sorry to interrupt. I saw an interview Jamie Lee Curtis was doing, and she was actually talking about the only reason she accepted that role is because prior to that, she only had these like one or two lines in like a show or a movie or whatever. These kind of like throwaway characters. Mm-hmm. And this is the first one. She was looking through the script, and it was like Lori, and she was like, "I gotta do this.
I gotta do it."
Absolutely.
There's actually some interesting information that I have about that coming up here in my talking points. But first one actually. Do you know how much this movie cost to make?
I do not.
This movie cost an estimated not even close. It was $325,000.
The only other movie I think that was like that, like in the early 2000s, I think Blair Witch cost like, it might have only been like 38, but it was a really low budget also.
It was next to nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that, like, I don't even remember how much they said it was, but like of the $325,000 to make this movie, it was like, I think half of it was spent on cameras, like panoramic type cameras to be able to film wide format.
It was well spent.
Yeah.
On camera.
And do you know how much Jamie Lee Curtis got out of it?
No. besides a lifetime career?
Well, yeah. She was paid $8,000 out of that $325,000.
I wonder what that would have been. Let me do some math while you're
for like today.
Yeah, like adjusted for inflation.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll let you do the math on that. But even though this movie only cost $325,000 to make, in the US and Canada, box office return was $47 million. So, that's at the time, $47 million isn't a lot. And I mean, I don't even know that movies can be made for less than that now. But this one made $47 million United States and Canada box office gross. So basically they made their money back. Their $325,000. They made that back about 145 times. So that is an astounding return.
$39,000. It's like 38,900 and some change. So
really,
that would be the equivalent today of getting paid less than $40,000 for the movie.
So there are people who like, there are average, normal, everyday people who 1 year of their salary could have made this movie.
Just me as a cook for a year, I make more than she would have made.
Right. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, and by the way, they weren't spending any money on costumes. So Jamie Lee Curtis had to take $100 out of that $8,000 she got to make the film to go to JCPenney to buy her costume for the movie.
Oh man.
So yeah.
Of course it was JCPenney.
There. Of course it was. Oh, there goes my dog.
I thought my dogs were going to be the ones that.
Okay. Yes, I see you. Yes, you're fine. Okay. Gonna find a spot to lay down. Yeah.
I just wanted to say hi.
Hello. So, now that you see that I'm not doing anything, do you want to? Oh, you want to say hi? Hey, can
What's
you
up, buddy? I'm looking at the camera. That's why if you see this, I'm looking at the camera.
Here. So yeah, JCPenney, $100 of it at JCPenney. Oh, there she comes again. Another interesting bit. The reason why the movie is dark isn't because it was to set the mood or anything like that. It was because they honestly didn't have enough money for lighting.
Go figure.
Yeah. So, what do you like about this movie?
Well, I watched some of the newer, like the 2018 one. And prior to that, the last time that I saw Michael Myers, I was like a little kid. So I had to like rewatch it. I think it's going to sound stupid, but this is just the way my brain works. So what I liked best about it was what I mentioned kind of in the beginning at the invention of some of these tropes. When I watch movies, and even like horror movies, one of the things that I look at and appreciate is what goes on behind the scenes. And this may not be the answer necessarily you're looking for, but when I see things like the camera going after one of the victims and how they portray it,
right.
And the still shots or the continuous shot of him going through the house and the camera is like outside watching him go through the house, almost like you're there watching it. And the things they use in order to draw you into that moment. And the other thing that I noticed watching the newer movies and then going back and watching that is, I don't know if you've noticed this, but Michael Myers was smart in the first one.
Yes.
And he would do things. He wasn't just like this mindless, tanky boss guy, that was just this ominous, always present force of evil or whatever.
I think they call it the Shape.
Yeah.
Yeah. Later on, they end up calling him the Shape because it sounds more mysterious.
Yeah. And I mean, even the director said that he's like supposed to be this force of evil.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be representative of the essence of evil rather
The
than
shape
it
of
being,
evil. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. See, and I did notice that he was really intelligent in this movie. I mean, aside from a couple of moments where he lingered a little bit longer than I would have had I been the guy holding the chef's knife. I'd been like, oh, bitch, you ain't getting away this time. But aside from that, no, he was very intelligent. He stayed out of sight when he needed to, and waited for good moments when people weren't talking on the phone and things like that. The other thing, what I think what I really noticed, that was actually kind of profound for me, in watching this movie and watching it from a more critical standpoint, is there is something that horror movies, I think, have really perfected, that a lot of the other genres, I think, have to work harder at. And that's bringing you into the scene. And I don't even mean from like a first person standpoint, because like a good portion of the first like 5 minutes of the movie is spent in first person view, with that clown mask on and everything. But I don't even mean in that way, but the way that, I mean, whether it's sound effects or score, like movie score, or, anything like that, whatever it is that they do, they've really figured out a good way to bring audience members into the movie. And I think that's why they're so effective at scaring people. And whatever techniques it is that they use to do that are really successful for that variety of film. And that was kind of the first thing that I really noticed about this movie as I was rewatching it critically, was I feel more inside the movie than I do with a lot of other movies.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest problems that I have with like cheaply made cash grab type movies, is they have this tendency to go after, what's the word? What would be a good word for this? Essentially cheap scares. A lot of these other cheap movies, they use like jump scares, and they try to scare you with the look of the monster and stuff like that, rather than like the aura of at any time something horrible could happen.
Right.
That mixture of suspense and keeping you there long enough, but not so long that you start to get bored,
Right.
And I think that's one thing that they did extremely well.
Oh yeah. They didn't have you guessing for too long. I mean, there were times where you were expecting a jump scare and they didn't do it, but then it would come just after you got yourself at ease,
right? Like
from
you
where
start
that jump scare
winding
was supposed to
down.
be. Yeah. They just a really great job at figuring out those times and how to get people comfortable just in time to present one of those jump scares. And the one that comes to mind is when they're in, when one of the guys, I don't remember his name, I want to say like Bob or something like that, when he goes down, Bobbert, when he goes down into the like laundry area and he's supposed to be getting the other girl a beer.
Mm-hmm.
And he opens up a door and there's nothing in there. And then he turns around and then suddenly he's got a knife through him and he's getting staked to the wall and, whatever. Like, that was a perfect moment where you were expecting a jump scare. And then when it didn't happen over enough time, you were like, oh, okay. And then it happened. Another thing that was really good, I think, in this, as far as ambience, I guess, goes, when he would just be there unseen.
Present.
Yeah. Like when he was just,
there's a lot of adults
in the shot
that need to learn to just be in the moment Michael Myers has it figured out.
Right. He really does. And sometimes he knows that you just have to be there and you don't have to say anything to really help somebody out.
Let your inner creep shine through.
Let your inner creepiness penetrate those around you. Horror flick gong. So no, like, but like there were a lot of times where, like, you know, somebody'd be standing there on the phone talking, and through the window behind them, you'd just see not even the face, but like shadows with lighter spots of it that kind of looked like a part of the face, you know, and things like that. Just like, so it almost felt like that he was always around, even if he might not have been.
Yeah. Their use of dramatic irony is really good in, you know, something's going on, but this person is just like, you know, oh, my dog won't shut up. And it's like, yeah, go check, you know.
Yeah. I'm sorry. You got a German Shepherd that's barking like crazy, like, you know, like he wants to eat something.
And then suddenly stops.
And then decides that he's not barking anymore. Like, at that point, especially if you hear a whine, because I vaguely remember the dog like barking and barking and barking and sounding vicious, and then going, oh, you know, and then he stops. Get the fuck out of that house. Like, I mean, just start running. Just fucking run.
That's the part, right? That is like the essence of what makes it so good, right? Is because that's your screaming at the TV moment or the screen. Dude, stop being an idiot. You know,
my dog isn't, I mean, she's not vicious or anything, but I would like to think that if there were a dangerous intruder in my home, that she could be a formidable defense animal. And if I heard her sounding vicious and then suddenly yelp, then if I have to, I'm climbing out a fucking window.
Oh, it's like you grab a shotgun.
Like I'm climbing out a window and I'm just leaving. Like,
Felicia.
Yeah, I'm fucking right off, because that's telling me that something is much bigger than my dog. And I mean, yeah, my dog's 80 pounds, but she's 80 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
So, this whole, like, you know, just going back out into that is just whatever. What are some of the other moments where it's just kind of a duh thing? Like, when she like beats the crap out of him in the closet. Like she stabbed him in the eye with a hanger.
The knitting? Oh, the hanger. That was the hanger one.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's start with the knitting needle. She stabs him in the neck with the knitting needle. And then she goes up to find the kids, which good. That's your job. And then instead of sitting there and talking to the kids about, you know, what should happen next or whatever, get the kids out of the fucking house. you know, like
one of the common threads that I've seen with all slasher flicks is this tendency to not check on the thing that you just killed, because they're not people, they're monsters, right? I mean, let's get that straight. They're monsters.
Right.
But in Laurie's case, I think what made it worse was this whole concept of pure evil, because if you stab somebody through the neck with a knitting needle, or just do a ton of damage, use a coat spoilers, by the way, coat hanger, and a chef's knife, you do all that. There's kind of this like, well, obviously they're dead. Who gets stabbed in the stomach and then just walks around, you know, or whatever it was.
Well,
so in her case, I can kind of forgive a little bit of that.
Except that, like, with her thing, like, I mean, well, we watched her do the stabbing in the neck with the needle, and then, you know, go up for the kids. And I mean, okay, so a little bit forgivable because she thinks that he's dead, but then after she tells the kids to lock themselves in their room or whatever, and then she goes and leads him off into the other bedroom where he finds her in the closet, and he starts breaking through the slats. She undoes a wire coat hanger. By the way, brilliant. Stabs him in the eye, like boing.
You know what level of concentration you have to be when somebody is literally trying to kill you and you have the thought. I mean, think about the action in the moment of being in this state of like panic and having the thought to grab a hanger and untwist it.
Right.
In order to get ready to do something. There's a lot of people that they're just like, I don't know what to do. I'm frozen, And
or just start grabbing shoes and flinging them.
Yeah, just like hucking shit,
Yeah. No, that's it. But then after, bing, poking him in the eye, and he's like, "Oh, son of a bitch, you got my eye." Then like she stabs him again with his own knife, and he falls and lays down, and then she takes the knife and she throws it on the ground next to the body.
Yeah, don't do that.
And then she goes and sits down.
I know that whenever
tells the kids to go,
I like to throw their murder weapon at them.
Back at them, yeah. And then she tells the kids to go to another house and call the cops or whatever, all that shit. And then she sits down in the doorway, not looking at the guy that she just fucking killed twice. And you would think
if you had the forethought to undo the hanger, like we talked about before, it obviously shows that you can be calm under pressure.
Right.
So there's really no excuse to be throwing knives at the person that tried to kill you. Like, you keep that bitch. Right.
Yeah, you hold on to that knife.
I wonder, on a side note, I wonder if this happened in Texas, it wouldn't matter. But there's a lot of places. So let's say he dies or he keeps coming at her or she wants to make sure he's dead. And so she stabs him more than what would be considered self-defense if she would then be charged with some kind of crime. Or she was babysitting though. So that wasn't even her house.
This would be in Illinois. So Illinois is typically, I think Illinois is seen as a very
like a stand your ground,
as a liberal state.
Oh, okay.
So guns are illegal and that kind of thing. And I think that a lot of self-defense laws are kind of in most states, aside from places from some places that I know, like Texas.
They're basically like, dude, if someone's on your property, just off them. Like, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't
in Texas, yeah, in Texas, it's basically it's that guy farted and it deteriorated my roses. Oh well, shoot him. Okay. In everywhere else in the country, though, if you kill somebody in self-defense, like, you're still going to be treated like a criminal.
Yeah, I would say, I'm not an attorney, by the way, and I'm not giving legal advice, but I think that you would probably have a good case. Like, it sounds stupid to say probably have a good case, but the thing is that the attorney could make the argument like, look, this dude kept attacking her after she attacked him 2 other times.
Right.
Like, of course she's going to try and make sure he's not around anymore. Like, who wouldn't do that? Yeah. I don't know. It was just, I know it's off topic. It was just something I was thinking about at the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is an interesting thought, though. Like, I mean, I suppose on some level, somebody might be like, well, I want to be real careful about that. That might be a case where somebody might throw the weapon back at somebody that they just killed, trying to get them to stop killing them. I want them to look like they did it themselves or something, panic, throw the knife back at them or whatever. But I mean, come on, Jamie Lee Curtis, this guy, you already stuck a needle through his neck.
Right.
Like, yeah, don't give him back his knife. Being a chef, What do you have to say about the knife that he used? Did he choose a good knife?
Well, I don't know the brand. I think it was a wooden handle. I'm pretty sure it was a 10-inch blade, full tang. I wonder if it's like a Victronox. Victronox are good kind of middle of the road knives. What knife did Michael Myers use? Okay. It says chef's knife. I knew that. I was right.
Victronox?
He used it says 8-inch Victronox, but I don't believe that. I believe it was a 10-inch.
No.
I believe it was a so here's what I'm going to say it is, and anybody else can challenge me. I'm going to say that the knife that Michael Myers used was a 10-inch Victronox with some kind of wooden handle. It could be rose, it could be cherry, or I don't know. I can't obviously tell just by looking at it. Victronox knives will often have a full tang blade, and they're pretty good, like decent knives. Like we actually at the kitchen I work in, we actually have some that are like pretty close to what he used, but they're serrated. So overall decent knife, good for all purpose use, which is what Michael Myers did. Good versatility. May have tough time going through bone.
Man. Well, there you go. Chef rates slasher film knife choice by mass murderer Michael Myers. So I'm going to take a moment here to talk a little bit about some more of the goofy trivia around this movie.
Okay.
So I think it's pretty well commonly known that the mask is essentially what's his bucket, William Shatner. Now, a lot of the time people will say that it was a William Shatner mask turned inside out or whatever. But something that I had read somewhere, I don't know if this is exactly true or not, that it was actually a Captain Kirk mask, bought from a small store on Hollywood Boulevard, where they ripped off the sideburns and the eyebrows, and then they painted it white, like a blue-white.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I will say I agree with you, because they were trying to recreate it, and the number one thing that gives it away is the hair on the mask is still there. And if you turn that mask inside out, that hair would not be there. So they would either have to alter the mask fundamentally and cut that out and add the hair, or they would have to just paint it white and then dye the hair black or something like that. I don't know if they dyed it black or not.
Yeah, I don't know. It was originally supposed to be a clown mask. I guess they had gotten like a sad clown mask and had put red hair on it.
That would have ruined the movie.
Yeah.
That would have made it.
They said it was creepy enough, but the rest
oh my God. That makes sense that they would want to make it a clown mask, though.
Because when he was a kid.
Because he was a kid when he was 6 years old.
And he was dressed as a clown.
When he murdered
when he murdered his sister. You're so excited about it. That woman that played his sister, that played, I think, what was her name? Janet.
Damn it, Janet.
Something like that. That woman, do you know she was a Playboy Playmate? Yeah, I didn't either until I was flipping through.
I'm not up on my Playmates.
Yeah, me either. Especially not ones from the 70s.
Right.
So
that one, though.
Well, now I know about that one. So something else that's kind of fun is Michael Myers' car was a rental. Yeah, they rented a car. Wow. The black car that was in that movie was that was used by the doctor. That was John Carpenter's car.
That guy was such a chode. Not the actor.
Right.
Well, he wasn't a chode in the first movie. It was later on, which I won't spoil that one because it was 2018, so it's still old, but it's not like that old.
Right.
Yeah. I did not like him in the remake.
In the 2018 movie.
In the continuation. Yeah.
Yeah. Something that I thought was kind of interesting. I had no idea. John Carpenter directed the movie. He also wrote the theme
Like the song?
Yeah, the da 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 da
Dude,
da 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 da.
that's dope.
Yeah, he wrote that. He apparently his dad is a musician.
That makes sense. Okay.
And taught him about that. So that theme is written in a really weird time signature. It's called 5/4 time signature. And so I can't even begin to describe it in a way that's comprehensible.
I don't know a lot about music. I only remember that somebody saying something about it being like, it's normally like, and correct me, anybody in the comments that knows more about music, but I believe something about it being like 4 bars is the normal thing, but they made it
4. It's usually 4/4.
Creepy. 4/4. Okay.
4/4 is what is most comfortable for most people. Some things are in 3/4 time. That's more like a bop, 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 bop. You'll get a lot of that in like waltzes and things like that. But 5/4 is a really strange time signature, because that's how you get that weird that weird incidental sound in there, that almost like syncopation, that da 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 da. I mean, it's, I don't know, it's again, it's, I'm so far out of music theory that I don't think I could describe it. I don't even know that I fully understand it anymore. But yeah, he wrote it, and it was all because his dad taught him about 5/4 time and how it sounded, kind of, it's almost kind of a desperate sounding time signature, which fits for a horror flick as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
So another really kind of a cool thing that we were kind of talking about a little bit earlier that I was going to bring up. So Lori and Tommy, I don't know if you remember when they were sitting on the couch and watching a movie.
Vaguely.
About when they were talking about, comic books and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
They were watching a movie called The Thing from Another World.
Now that you said that, yeah.
Okay, so The Thing from Another World was remade into a movie called The Thing in 1982.
That one of my favorites, by the way, of all time.
Also directed by John Carpenter. So yeah,
that's dope as hell.
Yeah, it's almost like a little bit of a foreshadowing.
That movie was incredible.
The Thing.
It was so good.
Yeah. I was actually really surprised that you didn't pick that one, if we're being totally honest. So another fun fact: sound effect for stabbing was a knife stabbing a watermelon. Yeah.
Now I'm gonna have to do that and see if I can hear it.
Something to keep in mind is as to why it might sound so accurate. What might make you believe that it's accurate is if you're a fat guy, then stick your stomach out and slap it, and then go and slap a watermelon, and you'll get approximately the same sound out of both.
I need to know how many people actually did this. Just write in a comment, say something like me.
Yeah, just drop in the comments right now. I did this. It's totally true. Because we have to make sure that Jason knows. But yeah, so I mean, there's got to be like somebody had to have been thinking, whenever I slap my stomach, it sounds like a watermelon. I bet you if we stick a knife into a watermelon, it would sound a lot like sticking a knife in my belly. This movie was also filmed in California, but it didn't look particularly fall-like in California when they made it. So John Carpenter had to have dead leaves thrown out onto the set.
Imagine he just
regularly.
goes and finds people and pays them $10. Just grab those leaves and throw them over there.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever, dude.
Do you know what's super funny? One day, one of those guys was Robert Englund.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, Robert Englund, for those that don't know, he was the guy who portrayed Freddy in Nightmare on Elm Street.
He also played a doctor in a other lesser known movie that now that I want to say it, I can't remember the name, but it was basically like a mockumentary where they basically filmed the guy that was going to do a killing, and then it swaps over to cinema. Do you remember the name of that? He played
I don't remember the name.
Doctor something like Hall something. Oh my God.
If you remember, put it in the comments. Any of my listeners, if you know what we're talking about, put it in the comments. But yeah, John Carpenter paid Robert Englund to throw leaves onto the set for a day.
No, that's not the one I'm thinking of either. Behind the Mask.
Oh, yeah.
It's called Behind the Mask.
Yeah.
The Rise of Leslie Vernon. Robert Englund was in that.
Yeah, no, this movie was just kind of a lot of fun. Like, and I don't know, like I think, I don't know that I really watched this in my adult life. I'm pretty sure the last time I saw this movie, until watching it for this episode, I think the last time I watched it, I was probably like maybe 8 or 9. And it was totally on like, Monster
like
Vision
TBS
with Joe Bob Briggs or something, like one of those goofy things. And so I don't know, I think I appreciate it a little bit more now than I did then, mostly because I've never really been into horror flicks, but watching it this time around, I definitely did come away with more of an appreciation of how they bring people into movies with horror flicks. I think that that there's definitely a different kind of movie making style that they do with it that I need to give them credit for.
Well, and it's also proof. You were talking about it being a lower budget film. You know, and I mentioned Blair Witch Project earlier. It's proof that it's not about the budget. You could have a multi-million-dollar film, half $500 million film, fucking tank, right? You have this low budget, like Jamie Lee Curtis going to JCPenney, rental car, spray painted mask, and they made like a masterpiece.
Right. Well,
like it's incredible.
The very first episode of October, just one of the recent episodes I did with Derek was, we had talked about Alien Resurrection and how that had like a $76 million budget, and it was a shit movie. Like, it was just absolute garbage. And this guy, fucking John Carpenter takes, less than $500,000 and turns it into 145. That's pretty incredible. So my applause go to you, John Carpenter. That was great work.
Yeah. Badass.
So, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cut this one off here. Is there anything that you want to plug for your stuff, Chef?
Well, if there's anybody listening that is, what the hell just happened there? Way to ruin my everything. If there are any people that are listening that are interested in food service, whether you're food service curious, or you are a line cook or chef and you're looking to up like your soft skill game. I've also noticed a lot of soft cooks. I've also noticed a lot of home cooks have actually been watching the content too, because even if they aren't chefs, they're kind of curious about the industry, and every now and then I'll drop a recipe or something that pertains to them as well. So if you're interested in any of that, it doesn't really have as much to do with what I'm doing here, unless a movie kind of has that intersection of like stuff like Ratatouille, for example, or Roadrunner. We covered a while back. Go watch that. Amazing, by the way. But otherwise, you can catch me at x86ed. It's just at x86ed. And that's true for everything. All my Instagram, everywhere. So.
Awesome. Perfect. And I'll have a link in the description in this episode. So now, if you have a movie that you want to talk about, whether it's medicine for you, a terrible movie, or just one you really like, you can come on the show. Just send an email to contact@movie-rx.com. Or you can leave a voicemail or send a text to 402-519-5790. If anxiety keeps you from coming on, you can always email me or text a couple paragraphs about a movie and I can read them on air. Remember, this movie is not intended to treat, cure, or prevent any disease, and we'll see you at the next appointment.